to the Honeybee Knits podcast. This is my first episode, and I'm really excited to be here with you. My name is Melissa, and I am 27 years old. I live in Springboro, Ohio, which is about 40 minutes north of Cincinnati. I live with my husband and our 3 cats and 2 dogs. So I recorded this podcast last night, and I had some technical difficulties and ended up accidentally deleting the video, which was very upsetting because I spent 3 hours recording and editing. So I was too frustrated to try again last night, plus it was getting too late, so I decided to try again today. You can find me on Ravelry as Melissa1308 and on Instagram as Honeybee Knits, and I'll put the information down here somewhere. We will go ahead and get started. So I want to start with my knitting. So I have a list of knitting goals for myself for 2017. In 2016, I tracked everything I knit, all the projects, and within each project how many skeins I used and how many yards that each project used. So I was able to kind of gauge my knitting time versus knitting speed so that I could plan out projects for this year. And I kind of got that idea from Mina Phillip of the Knitting Expat podcast. She was one of the very first podcasts that I started watching. So I really liked her. She does her knitting stats every month, so I really wanted to try to keep track of my knitting stats. So for the month of April, I decided that I wanted to knit 1 shawl and 5 pairs of socks. And the reason for that is because, as you can see behind me, I have a lot of sock yarn. That's not even all of it. I also have another shelf over here with some sock yarn. So, and I couldn't decide between colors for April. So I have knit an average of 2 to 3 pairs of socks a month in the past, and I kind of wanted to push myself to see how many I could do, but I wanted to be reasonable. I don't want to stress myself out. I currently am on track to meeting that goal, but I don't know that I will meet it, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. So anyway, so we'll start with finished objects. So this was my first pair of socks for April that I knit, and you can kind of see the sparklies. This is Nomadic Yarns in the Spring Fling colorway, and I really love these socks. These are probably some of my favorite socks, and they're not really podcast worthy because I've already worn them and stretched them out a little bit. So yeah, I don't know if you can sparkle these colors. They're amazing. So that was my first pair of socks for April. My second pair, so I participate in the monthly Desert Vista Dyeworks knit along, and so basically she has 2 knit alongs. The first one is a sock knit along where you knit a pair of socks every month in any of her colorways. The second one is a just any project in any of her colorways, and I have a lot of Desert Vista Dyeworks yarn. This entire triangle right here is all Desert Vista Dyeworks, and then it actually extends up into about here, so I've got about 5 or 6 skeins over there as well. When I first found her, I did go a little bit crazy. She has the zombie colorways, and for some reason, I'm obsessed with them. And especially when she had her Wizard of Oz collection come out, I had to have all of those. So, I do want to mention that up until recently, I didn't really knit socks for myself. So, although I had knit about 20 or 30 pairs of socks, most of them were gift knits for my family and friends. The reason for that is because I don't really like wearing socks or shoes until recently. So in December of last year, we had either a cold week or a cold day or something happened, and I really wanted to wear some socks, and I only had 2 pairs of hand knit socks for myself. And it was that day that I realized how much I really love wearing hand knit socks versus the nylon socks that you find in stores. So I decided that this year my goal was going to be to knit most of my socks, the socks that I knit for myself. And so far I have, I think, 11 or 12 pairs. I've actually, last weekend I cleaned out my dresser, and I have an entire drawer reserved for just my hand knit socks. So I'm really excited to fill that up. Right now it's not even a quarter of the way filled up. So anyway, back to my April Desert Vista Dyeworks socks. Again, these are not podcast worthy because they've already been worn, but here they are. This is Somewhere Over the Rainbow, and it's one of her Wizard of Oz colorways. And I'm really happy with how these turned out. When I first saw the zombie colorways on her website, I really liked the way they looked in the pictures. I loved her interpretations because she always has like a inspiration photo that she puts along with her interpretations. And I really loved the way they looked. But when they got here and they were skeined up, I don't know if you can kind of tell, this one right here is a zombie colorway. They don't look that great in a hank. So I put off knitting the zombie colorways for a long time, and I was a little disappointed because I had purchased so many of them. But then I knit a pair for a friend, and they didn't turn out right, and I kept them for myself, and I loved how they knit up. And so from then on, I've been knitting just the zombie colorways. So far this year, all the socks that I knit out of her yarn have been the zombie colorways. So yeah, and again, these are not podcast worthy. They've already been worn, but I'm really happy with how these turned out. So my third pair of socks that I finished, I'm also participating in the Lauren of LOLO Did It. She has a hippo for the holidays collection, and I first purchased her hippo for, I didn't get her hippo for Christmas, but I got her hippo for Valentine's Day and her hippo for St. Patty's Day. And I got those at the same time. I was able to knit her hippo for St. Patty's Day in March. So anyway, so you can go on my Ravelry page and check out my hippo for St. Patty's Day socks. But for April, she had hippo for Easter. And so these are my hippo for Easter socks. Oops, sorry. And I really love how these turned out. And as you can see, I try to get the sparkle base. I don't know if you can, can't really. You can see a little bit of sparkle there. But yeah, I really like how her hippo colorways knit up. They're a basic sock, but they have enough variegation in them to keep me interested. I also should mention that the heel that I use for my socks is the Phillip's Kiss heel. And I am still working on finding my perfect recipe for my feet. I have an issue with bagging in the leg and from casting on too many stitches, and I've been gradually decreasing because what I don't want to do, I'd rather have baggy socks than tight socks. So right now I started at 72 stitches and knit a few pairs. I went to 66, knit a few pairs, which all 3 of these that I've shown you so far have been on 66. And I am actually going to be going down to, I have a whip that I went down to 64 on that I'll show you. I do knit them on Magic Loop. Originally I started with DPNs, and my first sock took me 2 months to finish, and it wasn't because I didn't enjoy knitting the sock and I didn't enjoy the process. I didn't like the DPNs on the sock. I didn't like the tiny DPN needles. I'm okay with using DPNs for things like hats, but when it comes to sock DPNs, I am not a fan. And so I was watching so I didn't knit socks for a while after my first, I knit a pair for my mom and then I knit a pair for myself. And after those two, I didn't knit socks again for a long time. And then I decided, I think in June or July of it would have been 2015, that I wanted to make socks for everybody from my family for Christmas, which I don't know why I did that. That was a little crazy because I knit, for me to knit that many socks in a short period of time was nuts. So I was watching Mina Phillip's podcast, and she did a tutorial on how to do the magic loop method, 2 at a time magic loop. So that's how I knit my socks up until recently. However, I have found a new yarn obsession, and that is Nomadic Yarns. So as you can see, I have a whole basket full of her. They come in these, look at the sparkle. The sparkle's amazing. But they come in these gobstopper balls, which are, I don't know how she does this, because when I ball up my yarn, and you'll see in one of my future projects that I want to do, I've already balled up the yarn and I balled it up like this, and it is not as squishy. But I really do love knitting from this. And when I saw it, like I said, this is Nomadic Yarns, and this is in the Material Girl colorway on her Spark sock. And this really is spark. And the colors are showing up a little more, a little darker than what they are in real life. These are really neon colors. Like this pink is very neon. This is showing a little more green hue, but this is bright yellow. And this orange is showing tangerine-y, but it's kind of like a, I would say like a sunset orange. And the green here, that's showing up as kind of like a gray, and it's more of a teal. So anyway, so I didn't have the heart to make this into a cake of yarn. I really wanted to knit it from this ball, so I decided to knit 1 at a time because I didn't want to change the way this was balled up. And that sock, and that was actually these socks, which is her Spring Fling colorway, and again, the sparkle. Come on. So I wanted to knit these 1 at a time. So I started these at my dad's house. I was visiting, and I knit maybe an inch on the first, the cuff plus an inch on the first one. And then I didn't really touch these except for on my league night at bowling on Tuesday nights. And it took me, I think, 3 bowling nights to finish. I may have worked a little bit here and there on them while I was on a conference call or something with work. But otherwise I didn't sit down and knit on them when I was at home. And it went by so fast. I think normally it takes me about 10 to 12 hours to knit a pair of socks, depending on how long they are and how big the feet are, the foot length is. Socks for myself, I have, as you can, I don't know if you can tell, I have really small feet. I wear, not really small, but I wear size 7, 7.5, and I guess that's really small compared to my family's feet, because like my dad has big feet. But, and my mom has, I think she wears like a size 8.5 or something. So, I mean, I guess that's average, but for me, my feet are smaller than theirs. For me to knit a pair of socks for myself, it takes me about 12 hours, maybe 10, depending on if I'm in the mode or not. And when I knit these socks, it took me 4 hours per sock. I'm not even kidding. Minus the cuff. I didn't calculate the time it took for the cuff, but from here to the toe plus the heel, that took me 4 hours. So if I add in the cuff, maybe 5. So again, about anywhere from 8 to 10 hours for a pair of socks, which is crazy. When I first started knitting socks, it took me 16 hours. I know, because I kept track. So this is my honeybee mug. I don't know that I mentioned the name honeybee. My name in Greek means honeybee, so that's kind of just my theme with my husband and my family. So that's why I'm Honeybee Knits on Instagram. My last work in progress that I have to show is my Doodler shawl. And I cast this on back in 2015. Let me back up and explain. So all these whips in this bag, most of these whips right here in these bags that are hanging up, which by the way, my stepdad built me this shelf and my husband and I sanded, painted it, and hung it up. But these whips, yes, all these have unfinished projects that I've started. Most of them were cast on in the winter of 2015 into 2016. I participated, a few years ago, I participated in something called 12 Days of Casting On. And it starts on Christmas Day, and basically every day for 12 days from Christmas Day on, you cast on one new project a day. The idea is to have 12 projects casted on, ready to go, that you can work on throughout the rest of the year. The first year I did it, I did really well. I finished most of my 12 days of casting on before July, which is when I started doing the crazy sock Christmas knitting. The second year, which was the the end of 2015 into 2016, I started all the projects and then I got distracted. I became less of a monogamous knitter and I started casting on all of the things, and so I had a lot of works in progress. So this next shawl was one that, so my goal this year is to work through those projects as much as I can, while still being able to enjoy my sock knitting, and I also like to participate in the mystery knit-alongs and knit-alongs and things like that. So, so this is my Doodler shawl, and it's kind of, it's fairly large. It starts over here, and I call it a finished object even though it's not blocked. All of my objects are finished even if they don't have ends woven in and blocked, just because I know they're technically not finished. But as you can see, I haven't woven in the ends yet on this. And the reason for that is because when I block, I'm an aggressive blocker. So my fabric tends to stretch, and sometimes the yarn stretches in along with it. So I found that if I weave in the ends before I block, the fabric tends to pucker in the area that I wove in the ends because it's too tight and it can't stretch the way I want it to. So ends are not woven in on this, and I haven't blocked it yet because this is out of, I think I need to mention that this is out of Hedge Hog Fibres sock yarn, and this is in the Monet colorway, and the bottom, the purple color here, which it's a little more purple than what it's showing, that's Spell, and then the kind of grayish, it's like a light gray, almost a white, is Crystal. So I've heard that some of the darker colors from Hedge Hog Fibres can bleed, and since it's next to a light color, I didn't want to soak it. So I plan on purchasing a steamer and trying to steam block this. And also, I didn't want, like I said, I'm an aggressive blocker, and this is a very squishy shawl, and I think it'll be really nice for winter time. And I didn't want to take that garter squish out of it. For the border, if you're familiar with the pattern at all, he has this is by Doodler by Stephen West, and he has a couple of different options for the cast off, and I chose to do the Pico clusters, which I'm glad I did. I think they turned out really nice, and once they're blocked out, I think it'll look really cool. But the reason other than the fact that I liked it, the other reason that I chose to do this is because my mom knit a Doodler a few months ago. I guess it's been about 6 months ago, and she gave it to me. Well, I stole it from her because I really liked it. And she does not have the Pico clusters on hers, so I figured if I was going to have two of the same shawls, even though they're different colors, I wanted a little bit of a different design element to them. So yeah, that's my Doodler. So we'll move on to whips. So as I said earlier, my goal for April, and today, I don't think I mentioned, today is, my watch is up, but April 27th, Thursday, April 27th. So this is my fourth pair, and I have a hoe, which is a half object for those of you that have never watched a podcast before, but and here they are. These are if Molly's watching, these are our twinsy socks. So this is Knit Picks Fleechy in the Kaleidoscope colorway. This is also, these are the contrasting heel, cuff, and toes. Is also Knit Picks Fleechy Stroll. And so this is the Razzleberry colorway. This is so Razzleberry, Vibrant Violet, and Sour Apple. And I really like how these turned out. I've never done all three contrasting, and I've definitely never done them in different colors. And I really like how they turned out with this sock. I think the colors match really well, even though they're not identical. They're basically the same shades. And these are their neon collection, and they are more neon than what they're showing in the camera. I have bad lighting today. Last night I had perfect lighting, but today it's supposed to rain, so it's a little dark and gray. So yeah, these are my twinsy socks. I really loved working on these, and I can't wait to get the second one finished. I have it started, and I'm working on that out of my Molly Klein design bag, and this is her Easter bag she had. And when I first started collecting bags, I got a lot of these bird leg bags, which this little fox one is a bird leg bag. The chevron one right here is a bird leg bag, and those are nice, but the problem is that they have stiff interfacing, so they tend to get wrinkly, because I like to just throw them in my like my work bag or my knitting bag or my tote or whatever. And I really like these because they're nice and squishy, and I don't have to worry about tossing them around or anything like that. They won't get wrinkled. So anytime there's a holiday coming, I always go to Molly's shop because she always has holiday themed bags, and I love her fabrics. So, and they're really good price, so you should definitely check her out. She's Molly Klein Design on Etsy. Alright, so my next work in progress was not. So my April goal was to knit 5 pairs of socks and finish my Doodler shawl. So I've got 3.5 pairs of socks done and my Doodler shawl done. Sorry for the shaking. What I didn't plan on is this next project. So one of my 2017 goals was to knit my first sweater. And I had never knit a sweater because I was a little worried about the patterns and them not going up to the size that I needed. And I was worried about doing the maths wrong and then the sweater turning out horrendously big or too small or awkward shaped or whatever. So I never really knit a sweater. In January, I knit the Find Your Fade shawl by Andrea Knits on Instagram, and I loved it. And last Tuesday, she came out with the So Faded sweater, and I had to knit it. My original plan was to knit it out of the same yarn, the leftover yarn that I had for my Find Your Fade sweater, or Find Your Fade shawl. And I used LOLO Did It, and I have a huge collection of LOLO Did It too. I think she starts here and goes pretty much this whole section is LOLO Did It. But anyway, so I really wanted to knit the sweater out of the same colors, but I didn't have enough. So I did throw in some other colors that I had in my stash, and I chose to order the last color off of her website to tie it together, and you'll see why in a second. So here it is, and I'm super happy with it, and I'm really proud of it. It's definitely not what I envisioned it being when I first started it, but I love it. So this top color is Coal Miner's Daughter. What this one is, off the top of my head, oh, this is When Doves Cry. This kind of speckly with the gray stripes. And then it fades into Breakfast Club. And then my favorite, it goes into PYT. And they say that a good fade, you can't really tell that it's fading, but I actually like the like right here, you can't, I mean, it's a really good fade, But, and right here, I mean, it's a good fade, but it definitely goes into the neon-y colors. And I like that. So, what I didn't do is, I've never knit a sweater before, so I didn't know how much I would need, for the cuffs. So I knit a lot into the body, and I only saved, I think, 20 grams for the sleeves. So my color changes on my sleeves will not match up with my color changes on my body, but I'm okay with that. I ordered a solid color for the last color, so I ordered Summer Nights, and I really hope, from what it looks like on the website, I think it will match, and for the most part, her colors are pretty true to color when they come in. But then again, you never know, you know, with your monitors, colors look different, and so on and so forth. So I ordered Summer Nights, one of her tonals, and it's supposed to be here tomorrow. So most likely I will have this finished and not my 5 pairs of socks. So whatever I get done on my socks between today and tomorrow when the mail arrives, which won't be much because I have to work. Actually, no, I am off work tomorrow, but for the, you know, so no, I don't have to work. But anyway, I digress. So whatever I get done between today and tomorrow on my socks will be probably all that I finish before the end of the month, which is on Saturday. I plan to finish this sweater because I'm really close to being finished. I went ahead and knit the collar and picked up the sleeves while I was waiting on the last color. I have about 2 inches of the body left to do before, which technically I'm done with the body and I'm ready for ribbing if you go by the pattern, but I did want to make mine a little bit longer. And so I have about 2 inches left on the body before I do the 2 inches of ribbing. And then also these sleeves go to about here on me. So from here to the cuff will be, the Summer Nights, which is like a deep purple colorway, and I think it'll be really nice to tie that neon color in together. I didn't want to do another variegated because I kind of wanted this PYT to be the focal point, which, by the way, I have to get a Miss Brown's bag in the PYT colorway because it's beautiful. Alright, so my last whip is my Cozy Memories blanket, and I started this a couple of days, actually I started this I think on January 1st or somewhere around there, and I decided that I wanted to knit a square a day, so by the end of the year I would have 365 squares on here. I am behind. I got wrapped up in my So Faded sweater last week and I haven't got back to knitting on this, but I do plan to get this caught up on Sunday. I think I'm like 7 or 8 squares behind, so it'll be a day of knitting. But anyway, it takes me, I think, about 35 to 40 minutes to knit a square. So on this side of the blanket is all of the yarns that I've used in other projects. So socks, shawls, mostly socks and shawls. And then from here, so from this color down to this color and over are minis that I've gotten either in swaps or I've purchased through the swapless swaps on Ravelry. Some of them, like these Vista Dyeworks ones that I have, so she has Instagram prizes, so for Instagram posts. So some, and you earn certain levels, and some of the levels are, she'll send you 10 or 5 or 10 mini skeins. So some of those are from her. So yeah, that's my Cozy Memories blanket. My husband really loves that blanket, and I mean, I really love this blanket, and I want it to be mine, but he really loves it too. So what I thought about doing was I made this magic cake. And if you don't know what a magic cake is, it's basically a big ball of yarn. So it's basically all your scraps magic knotted together into a cake of yarn. And this thing is as big as my face. It is 409 or 408 grams. And I thought about crocheting a scrappy blanket out of this. However, now that I've knit that So Faded sweater, I'm completely on the sweater train. And I thought that this would also make I thought that this would also make a really cool scrappy sweater. So I haven't decided exactly what I'm going to do with this. I have another one on my ball winder right now, and I think it's about, so from the center here to about right here. So that's about how big it is. So once it gets this big, I'll pull it off and have two of them. I might have enough to do a scrappy sweater and a blanket. I don't know. I knit a lot and I have a lot of yarn, so we'll see. But anyway, so if I do crochet a blanket, it will be for him. Alright, and I forgot to mention my faded sweater. I'm working out of another Molly Klein design bag. Again, her bags are really squishy and I really love her bags. And then my Cozy Memories blanket. I have all my scraps and my Cozy Memory. For the most part, it's starting to outgrow this a little bit with everything else that's in there. So I kind of just keep it out as a lap blanket. But this bag is from ChileKnitz. Maybe it's ChileKnitz. Okay, these are planned projects that I have. So this is my 5th pair of socks that I planned on knitting for April. And it is, again, LOLO did it in the Harley colorway. And these are going to be Father's Day socks for my dad. And I have that in my Studio on the Green drawstring bag, which I love. I was not a big fan of drawstring bags until I got one of these. And I have 2 of them and I would love to have more, but if you saw the stack of bags I have on top of what you've seen here, I do not need any more. But they're really nice for socks, and she has these pouches in them, these zippered pouches, which are fantastic for your notions. And also, I don't carry a purse, so a lot of times I'll put my phone or my keys in here, my basically anything I would have in my wallet, so my credit card and my ID when I travel, so it makes it handy. I've got my knitting and my essentials. Alright, so I'm also a spinner, and I'm a new spinner. I started drop spindling about a year ago after I started dyeing fiber, and I really loved it, and I love doing it. I love the process and I love the finished object, but I definitely needed a wheel because it's just too slow to drop spindle. I will never finish the project that I have on my drop spindle right now. In fact, I plan on transferring it over to my wheel at some point. But so my husband, for my Christmas anniversary / birthday gift, my husband purchased me a National Custom Spinworks wheel. And if you've never seen them or heard of them, you should definitely go check them out. They are they're very cool wheels. They're unique in that they're aluminum wheels instead of your traditional wood wheels. And they have larger bobbins, so you're able to put more fiber onto one bobbin. So they're technically a production wheel. You could fit, I can't remember how many ounces they are, but I have both their regular bobbins and their jumbo bobbins. And their regular bobbins are huge. Their jumbo bobbins are even bigger. I'll have to either show you a picture or include that in the podcast at some point if I decided to do this again. But so here's some fiber I dyed last year. I guess it's been about a year and a half ago. So, and the colors are showing up a lot better today than they were last night. But this is more of like a dark teal. Last night this was showing up more blue. But this is definitely like a greener tealish color, like a sea green maybe. But this has got purples and greens and blues, and I really love these colors. And so does my mom. So once I have this spun up, I'll probably make her a hat or something out of these. Maybe a cow. But anyway, so this was my goal to spin up for April. It's not gonna happen. I actually haven't touched my wheel this month, which makes me really sad, but I've been so into knitting that I just haven't had time. So I do plan to spin this up at the beginning of May. So speaking of spinning, I can show you the projects that I've spun so far on my wheel. So my very first project, don't judge me, it looks terrible, but I was just kind of practicing with the wheel, trying to get used to it because I had never used one before. And so I just use, when you purchase fiber, a lot of the fiber comes with these sample packs. So I just threw some of them together and made a skein. And this, I don't even know. Like, I don't know what I'll make out of this, if I'll make anything, but it looks horrible. The colors don't match. The different, I mean, there's thin, there's thick. You can't judge. It's art yarn, basically. There's some sparkle, there's not some sparkle. So anyway, so that's my first one. My second one was some more my hand dyed. And again, it's not perfect, but it's a lot better than the last one. And I love the colors in this. So again, you can see I was still trying to figure out my gauge when I was spinning. I don't know if you call it a gauge, but that's what I call it. So, but this has a lot of colors in it. A lot of colors that I like, like I'm a pink and purple girl. So these pinks and purples and blues are right up my alley. So I'm really excited to make maybe a hat or a cowl out of that. My next one was, and this was my January one. My February one was, of course, pink and purple. And this is more vibrant than what it's showing in the camera. This is more, this is definitely more neon-y than what it shows. But this one, I think I got a lot better on it. I still need to practice consistency, but like this right here, I really like that. I'm getting better as I go. My next one, my husband, and again, this was my hand-dyed. And I used my hand-dyed first because I figured if I screwed it up, it wasn't my nice stuff that I bought off of Etsy. So, yeah. So again, my hand-dyed, this is something my husband picked out for me to spin. It's just black and blue. It's very basic and simple. And again, this will probably be a hat. But this is, I think I got better on this as well. And I didn't mention, but all of these are, I don't know what kind, just 2-ply. I caked the single up and I plied from the center and the outside of the ball. And then this one is actually chain ply. This is another of my hand dyed. My husband named this Witch's Brew, which I can see why. But this is chain plied, so the finished object, the finished product doesn't look as good as, like I would say, as this, when it comes to consistency. But I did enjoy the process of chain plying, and I do want to still practice it some more, because I have a few gradients that I'd like to spin up, and I think to keep it gradient, I'd have to chain ply it. But yeah, so there are some of my hand spuns. So we'll go ahead and move on to acquisitions, and I have a lot of acquisitions to show because this is my first podcast, and I just wanted to share some of the newer stuff that I have, along with some of my favorites. So I'll start with these Knit Pro zines. A couple months ago, around December, I was gifted with the Knitter's Pride Melodies set, and I really love using those for shawls. So I wanted to try the Knit Pro, and if you don't know, the Knitter's Pride Melodies are the same as the Knit Pro zines. The Knit Pro zines are like the UK version. So I wanted to try the sock needles for the Knit Pro zines, and so I went on to Etsy and I found somebody that was selling them. And I got 2 of each, 32 centimeters and 40 centimeters. The reason why I got 2 is because I started knitting my socks one at a time, as I mentioned earlier. So I wanted the 32-inch cables for when I knit one at a time. And then I wanted the 40-inch cables for when I knit 2 at a time. If I start to feel that I'm not getting if I'm having second sock syndrome and not doing the second sock, I will go back to knitting 2 at a time, just because I don't want a bunch of single socks laying around my house. So then I know I mentioned that some of my favorite bags are from Molly, Klein Design on Etsy, but I also really love, and I've been purchasing her bags for about a year now, the Freckled Whimsy bags. And she recently came out with these gorgeous drawstring bags. And this is perfect for me because I love coffee. I don't drink it as much as I want to because it gives me heartburn, but I love coffee. And the inside is the donuts fabric that was on my Studio on the Green bag. And these are interfaced, so they are stiff enough that your needles won't poke through, and they stand up on their own. And I haven't used these yet, so it's not quite filling out the way it will when I put a sock in there, but they're perfect for socks. You can close it up and just have your yarn coming out of the top. And I almost feel like these could be reversible because the way her stitching is, you really can't tell the difference between the inside and outside. The only thing is that, you know, the drawstrings on the inside, obviously, on the outside, obviously, and then she has these little tag rings that you can hook like stitch markers to. But yeah, so there's that one. And I also got, come on guys, this watermelon bag. Honestly, I'm not huge on the summery fabrics like this with the food prints. I don't really like the food prints, but polka dots. I had to have the polka dots. I love polka dots. Of course, I'm an animal freak, so I had to have this one, the little puggies. And then the inside of this are the like little dog bones. So yeah, these bags I will be using for my May socks, and I'm really excited to try them out. I'll let you know how I like them compared to her other style bags because I really like her sock nannies. I have, and maybe these are like the smaller ones that she has. I don't know if she still makes those sizes, but I have the elephants and then her Valentine's Day colorway. I don't have any more up there, but I have a ton of her bags. I use her bags for, I have at least one project in her bags at all times. Moving on to Yarny acquisition of Hueloco. She recently came out with the dye pot sock blanks, which is really funny because Freckled Whimsy also dyes yarn, and I have a lot of her yarn, again, somewhere up in here. But she had posted a picture of the paper towel she uses as like a spoon rest when she's dyeing, and I said, oh my gosh, I would love that as a sock blank. You should make that into a sock blank. Well, that's what Nicole of Hueloco did. So I think they're called dye pot sock blanks, so I think she just throws on whatever she has left over from her dye pots onto the sock blank, and then she also probably uses it as like a spoon rest or like a napkin to wipe up her spills or something. But it makes this really awesome pattern, and the colors, again, pink and purple, a little bit of blue, and this blue is showing up more blue, but it's definitely teal. So I had to have this. And then I've been dying to get one of her tightly knit sets, and I couldn't decide between one of them, so I wanted both, but I'm trying to rein it in a little bit. Yeah, as you can see, it's not working. But so I decided to compromise on her Grocery Girls colorway. I saw this, and I didn't know that she was coming out with a Grocery Girls colorway, and so I had to have it. And I really love the Grocery Girls podcast. It's one of my favorite podcasts. So these will be socks at some point in the future. And it's a really nice gray colorway. Okay, next. So I also recently purchased, I have a few mustache yarns in my stash already. And I really love her self-striping colorways. I have Karma Sutra, and it's like a 12 stripe repeat, which is crazy ridiculous. I don't know how she does it. But I haven't knit up any of her yarns yet, simply because I admire them in my stash and they're too precious for me not to knit up at this point. Also because at the time I only had, I think, 3 or 4 of her colorways, so I was kind of waiting to build up her stash before I started using her yarns. But anyway, so she went to, I think it was the DFW Fiber Fest, which I think is like Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas fiber something or another. That was a couple weekends ago. And she had a lot of leftover yarn from that she put up into her shop. And it sold out in probably 10 minutes. it was ridiculous. I mean, I would click on something and it would be sold out. But lucky for me, I'm actually really good at getting these updates. So a lot of time, like, I'm really quick at checking out, which is unfortunate for my wallet. But so I was able to get 2 of the colorways that I had on my list. And here they are. And I could have gotten the 3rd colorway that I had on my list, but I wanted to limit myself to 2. And I knew that the other colorway she was going to be dyeing up again, which is the Beauty and the Beast colorway, which I did end up ordering it when it went on pre-sale. So I just didn't order it with this batch. So this first one is Be Mine. And this was her Valentine's Day colorway this year. And I really wanted it then, but again, stock budget wouldn't let me. Or yarn budget. But then this is how it kind of knits up, which is a really cool colorway. This didn't come with the mini skein. When she made these for the kits for Valentine's Day, it came with like a speckled mini skein, but I think I have a speckled skein of yarn that I can, leftovers that I can use with this that would match perfectly. So for heels and toes, or maybe just heels. So then this one is her 2017 DFW Fiber Fest colorway, and it's Shiny Happy People. And again, it's gorgeous Easter colors. She had another, I think she had 1 or 2 more Easter colors. One was called Jelly Bean or something like that I really wanted, but I liked this one better. And it's, I think, since it's a DFW colorway, it might be limited edition. So I always make sure to get the limited edition ones, because if I like them, I know I won't be able to get them again. She might dye it up again, I don't know. But I really like this. I mentioned I'm collecting the hippo for the holidays collection, and Lauren just released her newsletter, I believe last week, and she said that she was going to have a hippo for Cinco, hippo for Mother's Day, and hippo for Father's Day. And the hippo colorway, she said she's just going to randomly put in her shop. She's not going to put them in on her normal update days, which is on Friday now. But this is her hippo for Cinco. As soon as I got the email, the newsletter, I was at the vet with my husband and my dog. For my dog, not my husband. And I was literally waiting on the vet to come back in, and I was checking out for this, because this is one, I have a yarn budget every month, and this is one I have to have. So look at this. I always get sparkle if it's available. But yeah, I really love these colors. She has some, I feel like a lot of these speckles are in her other colorways. Like, I know this one was in the When Doves Cry colorway, and I really like the red speckle. This one reminds me of a little bit of her St. Patty's Day colorway. And I think this green is like close to the yellow that she had in her hippo for Easter colorway. But yeah, I really like it. I'm excited to see how this knits up. This will probably be my second May sock. My first one will be one of these Desert Vista Dyeworks colorways that I haven't picked out yet. And if you subscribe to Hedge Hog Fibres, turn away now. So this is the first time I did their 3-month subscription for their sock. I did their sock club and their twist sock club, and this is the first time I've done it. And I think I might do it one more time, just because I want to get enough that I can make like meld the colors together and make a bigger project, like a sweater or a wrap or something. So this is the April colorway for their sock yarn colorways. And if you're not familiar, they send 2 colors, or 2 skeins of yarn with their April, or with their club, sock club. So the first one, this was Aqua Zoo, and it's got these gorgeous pops of orange and red and this blue, and it's perfect. I think the name for it is perfect. It reminds me of like the ocean and the little fishies and coral and everything. And then this one This is called Plan B, and I'm a huge pink and purple person, so these will definitely, this color definitely floats my boat. The colorways I got last month I wasn't too impressed with, but there are colorways that I know other people that will like them, so I'll either trade them to another knitter or I'll knit something up for somebody that likes those colors. And then this one, oh my god, so this one is called, this is their Twist Sock Club, and it's called April Showers. And with their Twist Sock Club you only get one skein. But I love these colors, and I really want to make these into socks. However, I have a thing about white on my socks because I don't like to wear shoes and I prefer to go barefoot, so the only socks I wear are my knitted socks. So when I walk down to get the mail or something, I just wear my socks out of the house. So I don't want to get them dirty. I guess I could put, no, I don't know. So these may or may not be socks, but I really love these colors. So those are the club colorways. So then the last thing for acquisitions I think I would mention is just my Nomadic Yarns. I have a big shipment coming from her, but I've been trying to collect her Harry Potter colorways. So this is her Birdie Bots, every flavor beans, and it is sparkle, but there's sparkle a little bit, and I get a lot of her, I don't know why, I love the sparkle. So this is Charms, and let's see, McGonagall, and Joby's a free elf. I love this one. I thank Molly Klein Design for getting me hooked to this one. When I saw her first podcast, or maybe it was her second one, where she was talking about this, which we're not going to talk about it because it was really sad what happened. I'm sorry, Molly, but I had to have this colorway. Okay, so I think that's all I have. You can find me on Instagram as Honeybee Knits, and you can find me on Ravelry as Melissa1308, and that's pretty much it. I really want to thank you guys for watching if you are watching. If not, I'm totally cool with that. I love just sharing all of my yarny goodness and my passion. That, I mean, if nobody watches, I'm completely happy with that. I just love sharing. I love watching other podcasts. I feel like it's kind of like a virtual knit night, and a lot of people don't understand why I'm so crazy about knitting, and I feel like the knitting community does, and it makes me feel less insane. So again, if you're watching, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, and thank you. Have a good day.